Weddings are supposed to be full of love and happiness, but sometimes they take a shocking turn. From fights breaking out to disasters no one saw coming, these are 20 times weddings turned into real nightmares. Wedding scandal. A wedding day is supposed to be about love, but this story turned into pure chaos. In China, a groom allegedly discovered that his bride had been cheating on him just before their big day, and the shocking twist is that she was caught with her own brother-in-law, who was also married to her pregnant sister. Instead of quietly breaking things off, the groom chose the most dramatic revenge. Right before the vows, he played a 5-minute video in front of the entire wedding crowd, showing the affair on a big screen. Guests were left stunned, the bride was humiliated, and the whole family was thrown into disgrace. But here's the strangest part. Some reports claim the whole thing might have been staged as part of a campaign, leaving people wondering if this was a real scandal or just a twisted setup. Wedding disaster at Luna Park. What happens when a dream wedding turns into a nightmare? Beck Stone and Richard Johnson thought they had the perfect plan. They chose Luna Park in Sydney, Australia, not just because it's an amusement park, but because it was filled with happy memories from their past visits with family. They even spent more than $20,000 on a wedding package, hoping for a magical day. But instead, things went horribly wrong. The food was served raw, strangers wandered into their private areas, and even fights broke out. To make it worse, the couple claimed the staff refused to help them simply because they were from Western Australia, where locals say there's a strong bias. The park later blamed the wedding party for being loud and refusing to follow rules. No matter whose story is true, the couple walked away vowing never to return, with their happily ever after starting on a very bitter note. Drugged wedding. Weddings are supposed to be full of love and joy, but sometimes they turn into complete disasters. Last year in Florida, a bride named Deas Vaboda and her caterer, Jocelyn, shocked everyone by secretly adding cannabis into the wedding food. Guests started eating without knowing what was inside, and soon many of them got sick, some even throwing up, while one woman began hallucinating and accusing her own family of strange things. Police were called, and both the bride and caterer were arrested for tampering, negligence, and delivering marijuana. No one really knows why they thought this was a good idea, but one thing's clear: it turned a wedding celebration into a nightmare. If you want guests to enjoy your big day, play good music, serve good food, and keep the fun natural. Don't drug them. Drunk bride arrested. A wedding day is supposed to be full of love and happiness, but in Arizona, one bride turned it into pure chaos. Amber Young, dressed in her white gown, decided to drink heavily before the big moment and then made the wild choice to drive herself to her own wedding. Instead of arriving at the church, she ended up causing a 3-car accident, which quickly caught the attention of the police. The shocking scene of a bride being arrested in her wedding dress went viral, leaving the internet stunned. Thankfully, no one was killed, but Amber's fairy tale moment became a nightmare, as her groom had to pick her up, not from the aisle, but from the police station. The police later said the photo wasn't shared to humiliate her, but as a reminder that even on the happiest days, one reckless choice can destroy everything.
Wedding game turns dark. A wedding in Uzbekistan turned from joy to horror in just seconds. After tying the knot, the bride and groom played a sweet unwrapping game created by the guests. The bride won, but instead of celebrating her victory, the groom snapped in anger and struck her in front of everyone. The shocking moment was caught on camera, spreading online and drawing outrage across the country. Even the president's daughter condemned the act, which led to the groom being arrested and jailed for more than 2 weeks. Though he later apologized in front of elders and family, the footage showed his cold reaction, as if nothing had happened, while the bride was taken away in tears. This disturbing scene exposed how fragile some egos can be, and sadly, how violence can replace love in the very moment it should shine the most. Crazy wedding crash. Weddings are meant to be full of joy, but in China, one ceremony turned into pure chaos. The bride and groom were about to seal their love with a kiss when someone completely unexpected walked in, the groom's ex-girlfriend. Now, showing up is one thing, but this ex showed up wearing a wedding dress of her own and even dropped to her knees in front of the couple, begging him to take her back. The groom quickly tried to calm things down and comfort his stunned bride, but the damage was already done. When the video spread online, people were shocked. Some felt sorry for the bride, others pitied the groom, and many called out the ex for ruining such a special day. It felt like a dramatic soap opera scene, but this wasn't acting, this was real life. And it left everyone with one clear lesson. Breakups may hurt, but crashing your ex's wedding will only destroy more lives than your own.
Wedding crasher. In Florida, one couple had a surprise guest who turned their big day into chaos. A woman named Gloria walked in like she belonged there, grabbed plates of food and drank as much as she could. At first, everyone thought she was just having fun, but soon she started getting loud and out of control. Even the groom noticed she wasn't supposed to be there. When asked to leave, she refused and kept partying until police were called to drag her out. The newlyweds laughed it off later, but they admitted it felt like something only Florida could deliver, where even weddings can turn into wild stories. Trapped on their wedding night. Right after saying "I do," a couple in Charlotte, North Carolina faced a nightmare no bride and groom ever expect. They stepped into the elevator at the Grand Bohemian Hotel with 4 guests, excited to head to their 16th floor after-party. But halfway up, the elevator froze. When the doors finally slid open, instead of freedom, they were staring straight at a solid concrete wall. Panic set in as they realized they were completely stuck with no way out. Luckily, someone noticed and called the fire department. The rescue was no small task. Crews had to climb 4 stories and set up a makeshift elevator just to pull everyone out one by one. By the time they were finally freed, the after-party was long over, but their friends made sure to cheer them up later, and after such a wild ordeal, the couple admitted they definitely needed a strong drink.
Storm wedding. What was supposed to be the happiest day of their lives turned into pure chaos when a couple chose an outdoor tent wedding beside a hotel, ignoring a storm warning. By the evening, dark clouds rolled in, winds roared, and suddenly the giant tent collapsed while guests screamed and ran for their lives, including a pregnant woman who was badly hurt. The worst part? The weather forecast had already warned of the storm hours earlier, but the hotel and organizers still went ahead, even trying to rush the ceremony before disaster struck. In the end, the celebration ended with lawsuits instead of dancing, proving that sometimes ignoring nature's warning signs can ruin more than just a wedding. Wedding disaster. A happy wedding in Ohio turned into a nightmare when more than 30 people got infected with COVID, including the bride and groom themselves. Things got even worse when some grandparents fell sick and had to be rushed to the emergency room. The couple had provided masks and sanitizers, but most guests ignored them, and even those who used them still caught the virus. With dancing, eating, and everyone sitting close, the wedding became the perfect place for COVID to spread. The couple later shared their painful experience, hoping it would warn others planning weddings during the pandemic.
Stunt gone wrong. A wedding dress is supposed to be the most beautiful thing a bride wears, but sometimes people use it in the strangest ways. There's a trend called trash the dress, where brides jump into water to ruin their gown as a stunt. When Amy Zuno tried this with her husband, things went horribly wrong. The heavy layers of her dress pulled her under the water, and she started drowning. Luckily, her husband rushed to pull her out and remove the gown just in time. Shockingly, Amy later said she didn't regret it at all, which makes this story even harder to understand. Wedding dock disaster. What was supposed to be the perfect wedding photo turned into a shocking moment no one expected. Dan and Jackie Anderson were in Cross Lake, Minnesota, just an hour before their ceremony, posing with all their groomsmen and bridesmaids on a small dock. Everyone was smiling, dressed up, and ready for the big day. But suddenly, the dock gave way and the entire group fell straight into the water. The dock was never built to hold that many people, and it collapsed under their weight. Instead of letting it ruin their day, the couple laughed it off, dried up, and went on to enjoy one of the happiest weddings of their lives.
Wedding waves. A dream wedding in Hawaii turned into pure chaos when nature showed its wild side. Guests were celebrating under the open sky when suddenly a massive storm rolled in, pushing historic ocean swells toward the shore. One of those swells crashed right into the wedding party, soaking everyone and destroying the setup. People screamed and ran as the waves kept coming, but luckily, the water wasn't as high as in other places where swells reached over 6 meters tall. What was meant to be a beautiful moment became a scene no one there will ever forget. Collapsing floor wedding. Can you imagine celebrating one of the happiest days of your life, and suddenly the floor gives way beneath you? That's exactly what happened at a wedding in China, where guests were enjoying the ceremony when a section of the floor suddenly collapsed. A table and several people fell into the hole, and chaos broke out as everyone rushed to help them out. Thankfully, no one was seriously hurt, but the joy of the moment quickly turned into shock. Later, it was reported that a hidden water leak had weakened the floor, and the extra weight during the celebration caused it to give in. It's one of those bizarre moments where you realize that no matter how perfectly you plan your big day, sometimes unexpected things can still ruin it.
Jailed newlyweds. In Canada, a bride and groom ended up spending their first night as a married couple in jail after getting arrested in a wild bar fight. Shocking videos showed the bride right in the middle, swinging her fists like she was in a boxing match, while the groom was hit with charges for mischief. Nobody really knows why the fight even started, but one thing's for sure, this couple's wedding memories are nothing like the fairy tales we usually hear. Instead of happily ever after, they walked straight into a scandal their family, friends, and the internet will never let them forget. Wedding chaos. In Philadelphia, 2 different wedding parties ended up crossing paths at a hotel bar, and instead of laughter, fists started flying. The fight grew so big that witnesses said nearly 100 people got caught in the madness, forcing police to rush in and break it up. But the most heartbreaking part came when one of the bride's uncles collapsed from a heart attack in the middle of the chaos and tragically passed away, leaving the wedding forever marked by sorrow instead of celebration.
Uninvited wedding guest. Right when a couple in the Philippines said "I do" and stepped onto the dance floor, nature had its own shocking plan. A sudden roar shook the place, followed by shattering windows and a blackout that sent guests into panic. It wasn't just bad weather, it was a typhoon crashing the celebration like an uninvited guest. Luckily, everyone managed to escape safely, but outside was pure destruction, and even worse storms were waiting for the country in the days ahead.
Flooded wedding. A wedding in the Philippines turned into something straight out of a storybook. A powerful monsoon storm had flooded the church, water rising all around, but the couple refused to cancel their big day. Guests watched in shock as the bride, smiling with courage, walked down an aisle half covered in water. Nothing, not even nature's fury, was going to stop them from saying "I do," proving that love can stay strong even when the world around you is sinking.
Hungry chaos. What happens when free alcohol meets no food? In India, a wedding turned into a battlefield for the dumbest reason. Guests drank too much, but the food ran out, and their hunger quickly turned into anger. Soon, drunk and starving people began smashing plates, throwing anything they could grab, and fighting each other in pure madness. The whole wedding turned into a scene of chaos, all because people couldn't handle being hungry. Instead of stepping out to eat somewhere else, they chose to destroy someone's special day.
The angry groom. Weddings are meant to be beautiful, but sometimes they turn into pure chaos. In India, there's a tradition where the bride and groom share food from the same plate, a gesture of love and unity. But in one wedding, things went completely wrong. The bride playfully refused, laughing it off, while the groom didn't take it lightly at all. Instead of smiling, he suddenly flipped the entire table and stormed out of the room, leaving everyone shocked. The bride stood there embarrassed, but honestly, she did nothing wrong. It was the groom who completely lost his cool. Moments like these remind us how quickly a happy wedding can turn into unforgettable drama. And that's it. 20 weddings that prove not every big day ends with a happily ever after. Which one shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unbelievable stories.